Don't go there by yourself if it's a new space, if you've never attended it. Well, think about it. If someone invites you to a normal party and you don't know anyone, you're probably not going to feel very comfortable. So it's still a party. And on top of it, it's a sex party.
Mm-hmm.
So this discomfort is going to be much stronger. So go with someone and you can ask your friend and be like, hey, let's just go together. We're not going to engage with anyone. We're just going to observe, feel the space. We can always count on each other. You can have a safe word that, like, hey, please stop whatever you're doing, be with me. You can establish all of those boundaries and agreements, and have that support. Like, I'd say the first time you go, like, even let go of this expectation that you need to interact with someone. Like, just be like, hey, like, the challenge or like the success is that I'm in that space. Because as awesome and exciting as it sounds, it is really challenging. It really challenges us to enter a space like that. Often for men, it's like, oh, what if no one will want me? What if I'm going to be there by myself? What if I get rejected? Women, it's a bit maybe easier for women in those spaces because it's always like available for me to sit next to another woman and just chat and have just normal time. I think there's more pressure on men in that regards. Plus, if there's pressure, you may have issues with erection and performance. Now you have additional stress. So just go there with curiosity to see what it's like, just to be in the space. Don't expect yourself to interact with anyone, to have sex with anyone. If it happens, great. If it doesn't, that's also okay. Like, we have to understand, like, sex brings up a lot of things. So there's no point in making this a traumatic experience. Take it slow. Make sure you're clear on what you want to experience and on what you don't want to experience, because you have to also protect yourself.
Say I'm going to a sex party tonight. How do I dress for that? Do I dress the same way I'm dressing now? Do I wear a thong? Do I have like my briefs on when I first come into the door? Like, how do I dress when I
Yeah.
come into this kind of event?
Look, actually, the dress code, it's an important element of the experience and something that can make you feel more comfortable. So again, here is where women have a bit more space, because in our society, women have, there's like a wider range of outfits. Even if you think of, like, if you go out for a fancy dinner or something, women have all the gowns, you have a suit, you have like one outfit. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a little bit similar here. Women can have a dress, she can have a lingerie. There's so many outfits she can have. For a man, it's a bit more difficult. But think about that. If you are, let's say, wearing just like some underwear, maybe like, I don't know, and let's say a tie, like you're dressed up a little bit. It's so much easier to move into an intimate space when you're already kind of half naked, versus imagine you have a shirt and pants. Then it's like, physically with your outfit, you're creating more distance. So seriously, if you're gonna have two guys like neutral, one is gonna be already dressed for a party and one in normal clothes, the one who's more naked is gonna have more interaction, because
Mm-hmm.
it communicates I'm more available. Clothes hide us. Like, being able to show more of my body, it's something that also helps me open up and drop into the specific space that I'm in. So highly recommend it. Highly recommend it to and again, like I say, I know it's, for many it's a bit more difficult, but get some like cool underwear, like maybe some animal print. So imagine, for example, you have an animal print underwear, and a shirt, like open shirt, right? Looks cool. Looks cool, but you're more available. So
Mm-hmm.
absolutely, I would say make an effort to dress up.
Do guys ever pop boners? Like, as a guy, mid conversation, go up to a girl already has an erection. It's just like trying to hold a casual conversation, but it's obvious that he's horny. Have you ever seen that?
I'm trying to think if I've seen that. Oh goodness. Okay, I don't think I have. Have I? Okay, I'm so sorry. I have to be honest. It's like I have a blank, but so I cannot really say now my experience from my experience. But I will tell you a different thing. One of the things about these sexually open communities is being open. So no one judges you if you have an erection. If you're, for example, offering a massage, like just a full body massage, let's say, and someone gets aroused, you're like, okay, you're getting aroused. Like, whether you're going to act on it, that's a different story. But we don't judge
Mhm.
the body for having an automatic physiological reaction. We don't. There is no judging the body for sweating. In fact, when you work with energy, you may burp, you may fart. All of it is actually energy being released from your body. So one of the elements is like, if you're really good at this work, is like you understand what it is. So you won't be judged. You won't be judged. Now, I will say there's a difference. If you come up to a woman and be like what we discussed before, like, oh, look, I'm so cool, I have a boner, yo, wanna fuck? That's not gonna be received very well. But if
Yeah.
you just kind of like, whether you are, erected or not, it's just the same as whether you have a ponytail or not. It's just like your body is reacting. That's perfectly fine. So it's in no way is it a big deal. It's not like people are actually paying so much attention to it.
Have you seen any kind of jealousy within these spaces? And then also, how do like men get added? Is it by the women? Is it by other guys? How does it work?
Okay, so let me start by saying that this idea of good looking or not good looking, surprisingly, when you practice Tantra, that really becomes secondary. So I have been to spaces with men in their 50s, maybe even older, very skinny, and also pretty fat.
Ooh.
Did not impact how many women were connecting with them, because if they had good energy, if they understood Tantra and they could make a woman feel safe, a woman would want to be with them and open up. So like, and often, in fact, if I think of the parties I have been to, these like traditionally really good looking men with like abs and everything, they were not very conscious and they couldn't feel energy, so they felt too pushy.
Mm.
Like, I was not interested in interacting with that, and a lot of women were the same. You're like, yeah, no, like, you're pretty, but energetically you're not really good. So it's really not so much about the physical look. So if anyone really wants to be in this space and you're like, oh, I'm not the most attractive man, really don't worry about that. Really don't worry about it. So much more about your energy, so much more how you treat a woman. Are you aware of boundaries? Like, all of this is way more important. Again, in an unconscious sex party, probably, yeah, the hot guy gets the woman. But here
Yeah.
it's really different game. Now, regarding the jealousy, so this is why I said that the most important preparation is this practice: desires, fears, and boundaries, and establishing agreements either with your partner or with yourself before you step into the space, because these spaces are highly triggering, highly triggering. So imagine, for example, that there's someone I'm eyeing and I'm like, oh, he's interesting, right? And
Mhm.
then he doesn't give me attention, and then I end up seeing him with another woman. Of course I'm going to get triggered and jealous. So I don't even need to have a relationship with this guy. But imagine I go with my partner, and let's say me and my partner, we have an agreement that we can interact with other people. But then, even though we agreed it's okay, I still get jealous. Or he gets jealous because of something that I'm doing with a guy, and now he's triggered and I have to stop doing what I was doing because I need to be with my partner. I had an example of, I was at the party with a partner, and it was really nice because he actually came in to check in with me. He's like, is it okay if I connect with this woman? Because it didn't feel right for me not to check in. I'm like, great. And then I got extremely triggered because she was like the opposite of me. Like, there's 10 other women, I would have absolutely zero problem if he was connecting with them. But that one, I was like, if you like her, how can you like me? Because we're totally different. So you are going to get triggered. Yes, you're going to get jealous. Yes, you're going to think like, oh my God, what's wrong with me? This is why there's a difference between these unconscious traditional sex parties and these tantric sex parties. Tantric sex parties are held. You have support. It's treated like a workshop, or it's treated like a healing session.
Mhm.
So if you go in thinking, oh, I'm not going to get jealous, this is also why, because you also ask, how can men enter these spaces? Because these spaces are curated, it's not like anyone can be there. There is a selection process. So if you, for example, what we're discussing about, like the bad sexual experience, that type of a man would not be really welcome, right? If a man just goes there because he wants to fuck, you're not
Yeah.
really, you're not going to be welcome in that space. We've had people who showed up drunk. Nope, you're not entering. So you have to be at a certain level of like practice and understand what it is. But usually it is through invitation. Like these type of spaces hardly ever are just like open to public. So you need to kind of get into the community to meet the right person so they can invite you.
You know, you mentioned that the guy that you went with, he hooked up with a woman that was the opposite of you. And it reminds me of Mary Shelley. Mary Shelley is the woman who wrote the story Frankenstein. She wrote that whole novel Frankenstein. And her partner would go off with other women occasionally and get with women that were complete opposite to her. But ultimately, he would come back home. Like, how was this woman different from you?
Oh, she was very young, very physically small, extremely like kind of passive, almost kind of like, ah, oh, I'm so silly. Oh, this kind of energy. I'm very strong. I ride a motorcycle. I go to the gym. So I'm like, I'm like a strong, fiery woman. And
Hmm.
he's just not suddenly he wants this really young, kind of like maiden archetype, overly innocent, overly naive woman. I'm just like, really? Like, you're attracted to that? Because if he goes with another strong woman, I'm fine, right? I mean, in
Yeah.
that we're connecting like this. But yeah, I got really, really triggered by that one.